Hello and welcome back to Factorio. And now, in the last episode we finished up the piping for the advanced oil processing setup. So now all the oil that is being produced in the oil refinery should be sent to the storage. And from the storage it's going to get pumped out to these things over here. Now we're not really done. We have a few things we want to put in here. For example, if I'm not wrong, we want let's just put this down. Take a look at the recipes for the different things. Now plastic is something we already have producing, which is fine. So we don't need to do that down here. However, batteries is something we need to do. We need to make sulfuric acid. Since we need sulfuric acid for the batteries, we need that. Now sulfuric acid needs sulfur. So we are going to need sulfur. So that's 3 things we need. Is there anything else? Now, explosives is something we might do later on when it comes to ammunition and stuff. Like explosive cannon shell needs 2 explosives. Cannon shell needs 1. Rocket needs 1. Explosive rockets need 2 or rather 3 to be more precise, because explosive rocket needs a rocket to be built, and later on we are going to unlock like ammunition and stuff that needs more explosives. So there will be a bunch of recipes where we might want to have explosives manufactured, but for now all we need it for is cliff explosives, which we have automated already. So it is these 3 we need. Now sulfur is made fairly quickly. It is quite quick in its production. You get 1 every half a second, so as it says, 2 every second. So we could probably have like 2 sulfur making chemical plants, like 2 machines making sulfur, and then basically 4 or just 2 sulfuric acid. We might need more. We might need we might actually need a bit more. Maybe 4. And then we have the batteries, which we are going to need a bunch of, because batteries takes 4 seconds each. Now I don't think we need more than like 6, maybe 6 would be enough. Now for that to work we actually need iron and copper, because to make the sulfuric acid we need iron plate, and to make the batteries we need iron plate and copper plates. So we need iron plates and copper plates down to wherever we are going to make that. Now I think I'm going to do it like here, like just to the right of to the right side of the oil refineries and down here close to the wall, basically. I think it's still close enough to the oil areas so we can actually put the like output pipes into wherever they need to go. Since we need petroleum gas for the sulfur, we are going to need to route that over there. I think that's it, right? It should be. Yeah, and water. And water. Right, and water. And that's it, yeah. That's it. So, what we should do is to see if we can automate this part for now. Now, to make this be able to work at all, we need red wire and green wire. Now, the reason why we need both is because when you set the logic, like set up the brain, red wire is its own system, green wire is its own system of signals. So the thing is, if I'm going to showcase this. Let's make this. I'm going to remove the copper wire. I'm going to use just a red wire like this. Now, this red wire, I'm going to make a green one as well. This red and green wire, they do not get the same information. If we make a tiny bit more, I'm going to show you what I mean that they have separate information systems. Because if we send a signal of 1 and then a signal of 2 over on this one for the green, so the 2 is for the green one. For the red one, it's a number 1. Let's check over here by mousing over. We can see that we have a signal of 1 and 2. And they are not interfering with one another. So whatever is being on the red wire is being transferred only via the red wire, and vice versa for and it works the same for the green. So whatever is being sent with the green wire stays with the green and doesn't mix with the red. Now, this is important because we might not want a signal to continue forever. So we might need to use red first, then change over to green, so whatever signal we had first isn't being transferred later down the chain. But that is a bit... You'll call if you mess around with the circuit network, that is fairly easy and quickly understandable. What might be a bit, should I say, harder to grasp is how you need to program this. Now, this is a system of true and false. So what you say is, if this is true, do this. If false, do this, for example. And we are going to need a lot of wire. I'm going to try to use the same wire for like the storage. since they aren't going to mix with one another most likely, I'm going to try to use the same. I'm going to need way more wire. And what I'm doing is selecting it in my inventory and just left clicking on to whatever I want to attach the red wire to. Now, we have now attached red wire to the pump that is pumping and draining the oil refineries into the storage. So we have now said that, okay, but I think we should do... No, we're not going to, like... it was quite some time since I did it. Now, if you want to remove a wire, this is actually perfect. My own mistake is helping me explaining that. That's kind of funny, but if you made a mistake in placing the wire, you need the wire in your hand, so if you empty you have to craft more of them, and mouse over what you want to start removing and then left click. So we now have where we could place more, but if we drag it to somewhere where we have already placed it, we remove the wire. Now, as you can see in my hand, I still have 3 wire, so it doesn't consume the wire when you remove a wire, but you don't get the wire back. So I'm going to remove these like that. Now, the input is just going to pump as much in as possible. What we need to do is some stuff, which is going to involve some of this. Now, the reason why I'm using these big ones is because they can travel a lot, like a lot further. They have a longer distance they can move a wire, and yes, the red wire is dependent on which, like the red and green wire is dependent on which electric pole you're using to transfer it further. So if you use a medium and try to go super far, you can't do it. So if we, for example, if we go past a certain distance, we get this like round symbol with an X, which means we can't do it. But you can go fairly long distances, but if you go via a big electric pole, you can go really far. Like this. Now, we are going to need a lot more red wire, so let's do that. I think this is how I should do it. I'm trying to remember how I usually do it, which maybe isn't the best thing. I probably should have looked up it beforehand, but whatever. Let's just go with as much as possible. Now, what I am going to do is hook this up a tiny bit to get some stuff pumping. There we go. So we have some in the system. hopefully. Should have outputted. Okay, let's let it continue. Now, it doesn't create that much, so it might be that we need to let it create some more. Okay, it has pumped in a little bit. It's not a lot, but it's something. So we probably need to hook it up a bit more. Let's remove it now. This should be enough to get it working with all the 3 different ones. Because we need some stuff in the storage to be able to get a reading. So now we actually have a reading of what's in our storage. Seems like they have dried out, so let's turn them off. But yeah, we have a bit of the 3 ones right now. So what this means is, since we have hooked them up, we want to bring this over here. Now, we have a few where we actually want this to be more than one pump, I remember. If I remember correctly, we do want these, probably everyone to be 2 pumps. Let's do a bit more of them. But what's going to happen is, let's power the pumps up for now by doing this and disconnecting, because we don't want them to. Let's remove that one and just do this. Should probably not have hooked up the pipes, because we don't actually want them to like give us stuff, really. Like that, and let's see. Now, we want to check in. Oops, did not mean to remove that. We want to see if we want to do this as well, so let's do that. Nope, too far. Okay, let's put one of these down. These ones, like that. We can chain it up to here. There we go. Now, if we make a bit more red wire, and we see, the thing is, we want to make lubricant. We always want lubricant to be a certain amount. What I'm going to do is actually show you what I mean by putting this on And if we can find the oil, there we are. And so we have now set a filter for these two, basically which kind of stuff. Now in this case we have the heavy oil. We want the heavy oil to be the last thing to check, because if we did them the other way around, we might get like the thing where it lets a tiny bit through because it takes a while. It might take like a millisecond or two before it notices, oh right, I should switch off, and you produce a bit more than you maybe want to or need to. So we are going to see, we are going to say that if lubricant is below 25, 50, that 100, 125. So let's say that if lubricant is less than 75,000, then this one is allowed to work. And we are going to say just below. So if it's actually dropping below 75, I could, no, let's do 60. Let's do 60, like half-ish. So if it goes down to below half, so it's basically 50% or less, then this first one turns on. So it checks to see, okay, lubricant is lower than 60k, so that's why this is green. So this condition is like fulfilled, so the pump is enabled, because it can't find anything in storage, so it wants to try to make lubricant to turn off. Now we are going to see when do we want the heavy oil to work. Now this is the thing, we want heavy oil to say that if you're greater than, and I'm just going to do this to make it stop. So if the heavy oil is, this is 10, so it's 25k times 10, so 250k. So if we have 200, let's say we have more than 200k, the 2020 200,000. So if we have more than 200,000 or heavy oil in storage, we will allow lubricant to be made. This way we won't like drain our heavy oil because, oh, we have a bunch, we don't have any lubricant at all, so we're going to just drain the whole system to make lubricant. So that way you aren't going to just lose every single drop of heavy oil because it's going into the lubricant production. Now what I'm going to do is just put this up to power this. So we had a bit of it being made because of what happened to slip through in the pipes when we were setting the conditions. So we have a tiny bit of lubricant. We have like 50 lubricant. That's not a lot, but so that is basically how it's going to work. It's going to look at how much in storage of the 3 things do we have, and then how little do we have of whatever we want to make. So if we go to the next one, we are going to need 1 more of these. So let's do this. Going to remove that one. And what we are going to do is hook them up with these like that. And what you need to be careful of is if I take these, what you don't want to do is this. You don't want the 2 pumps to be connected to each other. You want them to be connected to the power pole on their own. So if I drag them out here to make it a bit clearer, what we want them to, how we want them to be is like this. Not like this. Oops. So this one where I'm standing right now is not how we want them. This is how we want them to be connected. So be careful of how you connect the wires, because it does matter. It is very important that the wires is connected correctly. Otherwise, it won't work. Now, the first one is the one where we are going to check how much light oil do we have in the system. So we are going to see how much light oil do we have in the system. And this is if light oil is less than 125,000, so 125k. So basically, if it's less than 50% of the like the amount of storage we are capable of having, then we will drain heavy oil to be made into light oil. Now, we are only going to do that if heavy oil is greater than 230k. So basically, if we are close to topping up like the storage for heavy oil, and we have a low amount of light oil, we will convert everything into as much heavy oil as we can into light oil, like this. Now, let's move on to the next one. This is the light oil, which is going to, where we want to make light oil into petroleum gas, which means we are going to see how little do we have of the petroleum, which is 125k. And if light oil is greater than, well, I should probably do equal to or great 230k. Shouldn't change that one up here as well, like this. That is just so if you actually have exactly 230, it's still activated, so it actually has to go below for it to deactivate, which is just a minor thing, but it makes it slightly more efficient, I feel. Let's see. So we are now checking, do we have less than 50% of petroleum gas in storage? If true, then we will pump, or the first pump will try to pump the light oil to petroleum gas cracking system. We'll try to pump into here. And then second one will see light oil. Are you greater or equal to 230k in storage? If true, it will also activate as well. And the system is going to produce petroleum gas by making use of the vast amounts of light fuel we might have. And then we get down to here, where we are purely going to look at how much do we have of heavy oil, because it might actually be we might find ourselves in a situation where one is super high, so we can't crack it because it doesn't, like, the conditions doesn't allow for cracking to happen. So we are going to make, if one of them is like on the cusp of getting to max capacity, so we are going to see if we have equal to or greater than 240,000 heavy oil, we are going to make that into solid fuel. Now, solid fuel from heavy oil is not the most efficient, but trust me, most of it is probably, at least in the beginning, going to be from heavy oil and light oil. Now, let's see. And let's do it the rest as well, and then we will end the episode. This one is going to look at light oil and do exactly the same. They are going to have the exact same conditions. So it's going to see if we have way too much of the light oil. If we do, we are going to keep on doing what we could do, and we probably should, is to put in some other pumps to see basically to put in like for light and petroleum, to see how much of it we have, to counter, so we don't do a bunch of. So basically, if everything is full and we can't convert, then yeah, we should do that. Now, how many do I need? I need 2, 2, 2, so 6. We have 3, so 1, 2, 3. Now what I'm going to do right here is actually this, so we don't break the... And what we're going to do is just do this. And I'm going to copy this and just see if light oil is as well. So it's basically going to see if every single oil... No, it doesn't need to be every single one, it just needs to be so the cracking... So the heavy oil needs to see the light oil only. Like this. Like that. Because that means this one will see if it's... If we have a lot of light oil and heavy oil, so we can't do cracking. Yeah, we should do that. And now the light oil, we are going to need to check all three, I think. Or do we? No, we shouldn't need to do that. We should just... We probably just need to do the two. Since light oil is being cracked into petroleum, we are going to see if it's a bunch of petroleum and we can't do the light oil, then do the... Yeah. And then the petroleum is basically... basically just if petroleum is a lot. Now this is probably not going to be running a lot. So if we have like 245, okay, it's going to run. I think that should work. I think this is going to work. Now, once you have actually done it, this is going to be a bit of a long episode, but I want to like finish explaining. Once you have done all this, there's only one thing to do left to do, and that is hooking the system up and testing it to actually see that it works. Because you don't know if it works until you actually have hooked it up and tested it. So we are going to have to test it out and see if it's going to work as we intend. But what I'm going to do just is put down the power poles, and that's all I'm going to do. And then we are going to end this episode, and we are going to hook up the last bits and pieces that might be missing, and we are going to test this stuff to see if it works. Now that, whoops, I'm missing, I should, oh, it's close, it's one closer, so we can do this one further, right? Well, let's do this, there we go, that's what I missed. There we go. Now, this is now hooked up. What I am going to do right now is, before we end, this is going to be a 40-minute episode, but I feel like I wanted to, while I still, I did forget time, but I think finishing this up and not cutting off in the middle is probably a good thing. So we have now hooked everything up, so the storages, all the storages are being checked to see how much is in them, every single of these like chemical plant where we either and we have like all the chemical plants we have put up right here is only to balance the oil, the 3 oils. That's it. That's all of it. So this is just to balance the oil and to produce lubricant. But still, this is just so we actually can balance the oils from one to the other to make sure that no one is completely full. And yeah. And you might find that you need to tweak the numbers, especially if you increase or decrease the storage. You will need to tweak the numbers. But we are going to cut this here so we don't go any further than necessary. But for now we have put up basically the oil balancing system to balance the 3 oils so no one gets completely full, and the one thing we use, which is petroleum, is going to run out. But with that we are going to have to call this, so thanks for watching, goodbye, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.